question. The United States reaching out to Narendra Modi. Is Gujarat 2002 no longer an issue in election 2014? That's the big question that we're raising at the moment. Joining me now, Nirmala Sitharaman, the BJP spokesperson, C.R.Kesavan, the Congress's spokesperson, Shabnam Hashmi, social activist who's been taking on a campaign against Narendra Modi in Gujarat, K.C. Singh, former diplomat, and Vinod Mehta, editorial chairman of the Outlook Group. Nirmala Sitharaman, how do you react to this US decision? Is this finally a sense that you have got that with the United States deciding to reach out to Narendra Modi, his isolation in a sense from Washington is over? Is this a moment for you and your party to celebrate?
See, Narendra Modi ji has been announced as the prime ministerial candidate of the BJP, which is the principal opposition party.
Right.
It is a customary practice that most diplomatic representatives of various countries, whoever are present in India, do meet up with the ruling party and the opposition party. And in this case, because now that he is announced as a prime ministerial candidate, maybe the US ambassador chose to call on him.
You don't seem to be too enthused. You don't seem to be too enthused. You almost seem to see that this is routine. The fact is that for 9 years,
it is routine.
But the fact is that for more than a decade, the US has not had formal contact with Narendra Modi. They haven't given him a visa. Is this a moment, you believe, which marks the end of that isolation?
We do not know with the what agenda or what intention the US ambassador is going to meet with the chief minister.
Right.
Certainly, we think as much as other ambassadors would do or high commissioners would do. Here is an ambassador who is coming to meet him, and that's where it lies. But since you seem to be very curious to know about issues which are related to the visa denial and 10 years isolation, as you call it,
yes,
I would want to start off straight away saying that it is disgraceful that the Indian External Affairs Minister, he may go into the technicalities of whether it is the lower court or a higher court or a Supreme Court. There isn't anything at all on Sri Narendra Modi, and above all, if it is the Indian courts which have spoken. And as a External Affairs Minister, even during the last 10 years, it is, yes, the prerogative of the nation which considers, with the country which wants to give the visa, whether they give it or not, and Indian External Affairs Minister cannot do anything to force them to give or to deny. But the statement of Sri Khurshid today,
yes,
almost gives an impression that he's been vicariously enjoying this denial almost as a congressman rather than working as an Indian External Affairs Minister.
So you're saying Salman Khurshid is speaking as a congressman, not as the External Affairs Minister. As an External Affairs Minister, you're saying he should be pushing for Modi to have got the visa in the first place.
I'm also saying, yes, somewhat what you said, I'm also saying,
yes,
as a congressman, even as a congressman, I think a few of them excel in speaking ill about our own country's leaders,
yes,
with media men who come from abroad, and probably even when they are abroad, to talk ill of your political opponents. Narendra Modi ji has gone to China or Japan, never lets down our leaders with whom he doesn't compromise questioning them when they are in this country. He doesn't speak ill of Dr. Manmohan Singh when he goes out. Whereas you had Mr. P. Chidambaram talking to the BBC's correspondents when probably he was in Davos speaking ill of elected chief minister here.
Okay.
You may have 1,000 differences within India. You may have 1,000 differences within political parties within India. But there is a decorum. This is really taking it to the bottommost pit. And I'm sorry to say that
yes,
these are people holding cabinet positions.
You know, those are very strong words coming from you. You're calling it disgraceful. You're calling it disgraceful what you're saying. Salman Khurshid saying that Modi
can call it disgraceful.
Yeah, the only difference of course being that Khurshid has said this in India, unlike other leaders who you say have said it to foreign correspondents abroad, and you're trying to make that distinction presumably. But Mr. Kesavan of the Congress, is your party being churlish? Is your party not coming to terms with the reality? The US decides to break the ice with Narendra Modi after a decade. Your ally, the NCP, says 2002 should be treated as a closed chapter. Is the Congress being isolated in its attempt to hold Modi accountable for 2002 and sounding churlish, to use the words of Nirmala, disgraceful that you are targeting an elected Chief Minister of India in the context of a foreign country?
Rajdeep, I'll come back to Nirmala Sitharamanji's
let's focus on that.
To begin with,
focus on that, because she has used a word. She has used very strong words against your minister. She's called your minister's behavior disgraceful.
I'm coming to that, but please let me start off here by saying there is a big brouhaha. Too much is being made into this 9-year hiatus of people not having contact with Narendra Modi ji. Let me just say one thing. In 2013, March 28th, a Congress delegation from America, represented by congressmen and women, met Mr. Narendra Modi ji. So this is not something which is happening new. But I think more importantly, what you have to keep in mind is there is a very important body in America. It's an official body which advises the President of America and the Secretary of State. It's called the UN Commission of International Religious Freedom. The Vice Chairperson, Dr. Katrina Lantos Sweat, in January 2014 has categorically said, when this issue was raised, this is just a month before, she said terrible things have happened under the leadership of Narendra Modi in Gujarat, and they said grave doubts exist and hang over the head of his role in this, Gujarat riots. This was said by a very, very senior official. So when, this meeting happens here, this is as it's being touted, it's not the first meeting. But Congress delegation has met him, but the real issue is about the visa. So, when Nancy Paul meets her, these things will be factored in. And we should not forget, not just the official government position, even when it happened in the Wharton School and University of Pennsylvania, the students and the faculty protested, and even a video conferencing was cancelled. So
can I get Nirmala ji to respond?
The government, but let me come back to Nirmala.
Yes. Respond to the charge that your government has deliberately singled out Narendra Modi even in international fora.
No, this is, and we talked about the Supreme Court. I'm coming back here. The amicus curiae made such a strong observation that can't be dismissed away. The amicus curiae's observation came because the Supreme Court wanted it. Now the trial court, you can't question the legislative process of this country, sir. There is a trial court, it goes to the High Court, it goes to the Supreme Court. I don't want to get into Maya Kodnani's case here and how she was convicted, for life imprisonment here. But let's come back to the issue here. It's not the question of whether the US is going to give a visa to Narendra Modi. The question of whether the people of India will give a visa to Mr. Narendra Modi to represent our country. And I think the answer is a definitive no.
No, that's the question. That's the question. Hold on. Are you, let's be honest. No. Just a minute now, Mr. Kesavan. You are saying that the people of India will decide whether they want to give a visa to Narendra Modi. Presumably what you are saying is, if the people of India then decide that Mr. Modi is to be their prime ministerial candidate, then it doesn't matter what Washington does or says. The critical question is in India. But Nirmala Sitharaman, you wanted to respond to what you heard from Mr. Kesavan, that there are still dissenting voices even in the US who still at the highest official level still have criticism of the way he handled 2002. To that extent, 2002 still impinges even in 2014.
I just want to repeat how the Congress party, without even thinking about what they are speaking, go about telling us things as though they are the final word. USCSIR, United States, religious freedom wala body, which he is referring to, doesn't speak about anything, and they are American funded organization. They are not a government body. Let him get his facts right. That is one thing. They may receive funds from the American government, but they are not a government body. One thing. Even if they were a government body, are they superior to our own courts? What is this? I mean, are we trying to say, just as some NGOs, even at the case where pending in the SIT was collecting information as per the Supreme Court's order, went seeking justice from the international court, as though the Indian courts cannot deliver justice. Similar is the Congress spokesperson's approach, saying, oh, court, the body which takes care of religious freedom. Okay. I'm sorry, these kind of references undermine our own institutions. And the respect that the congressmen have for our own institutions comes out very clearly. One thing. Second, he's talking about the legislative and legal process. I'm not sure what he referred to. If he's talking about the people of India, not giving a mandate for Modi, I'm sorry. 2002, 2007 and 2012, people of Gujarat have voted for him. If at all you want to have public mandate as a, criteria, other than the court and the court giving a clean sheet, are the people of Gujarat not Indian citizens? What is the Congress spokesperson talking about? Sorry, this is shameful.
Okay, hold on. Before I again make this typical Congress BJP, let me widen it. Shabnam Hashmi, I want a quick response. Sustained campaign by you and other activists to ensure that Modi is denied a visa to the US. Now the EU has reached out to him, the United Kingdom has reached out to him, today the US seems to be reaching out to him. Do you accept that as Modi's political stars rise, your voice is getting less traction compared to what it was a decade ago? Increasingly, for many, 2002 is a distant memory. The US has decided he could well be India's next Prime Minister. We need to deal with it.
Well, the US ambassador is meeting Mr. Modi around the Valentine's Day, which is surely a signal of what kind of message they are taking to him. Yes, what you are saying, that these saner voices in this country are getting drowned. These saner voices which are resisting an authoritarian and dictator like man who is Mr. Narendra Modi.
You feel marginalized today? You feel that your voice is getting marginalized?
Yes, the voices are getting marginalized, and there are no two opinions about it, because the national consciousness is moving towards the right, and the authoritarian character of Mr. Narendra Modi is taking over the
I'll come to that point. I'll come to whether he's authoritarian and your criticism of him. But Vinod Mehta, it appears that the clean sheet given by the SIT and by a lower court, trial court in Ahmedabad, is now being used in a sense to vindicate Mr. Modi. To that extent, is 2002 politically irrelevant? What the United States is doing today, maybe in a sense other countries will do tomorrow. Maybe this country will also vindicate Mr. Modi if they elect him. Do you believe his vindication lies in what happens in this country in 2014, or does it lie in the US giving him a visa? Do you believe 2002 no longer issue?
Rajdeep.
Yes, go ahead.
Rajdeep, can I just make a small comment on this visa question? It's very important.
Please go ahead.
You see, there should be some euphoria in the BJP and amongst Narendra Modi at what the US has done. But I think they should remember that the US did it at the last minute. The European Union and Britain did it about 2 years ago. So America waited till the last minute to recognize Mr. Modi. Secondly, Mr. Modi will still find it difficult to go to Britain because he might get arrested there. If you remember, two British citizens were killed in the Gujarat riots. They have filed cases in Britain, and the lawyer has said that if Mr. Modi steps on British soil, he will be arrested.
Yes.
And in 2005, Mr. Modi was supposed to go to Britain. When he heard about this kind of arrest, he cancelled his trip. So this is one factor. Now, as far as this question of the resonance of 2002 riots, of course they are becoming less and less important for the people of India, because there is some kind of 2002 fatigue. We seem to be going around in circles. And Mr. Modi is like a cat with 9 lives. He gets off at every stage. And I think the conclusion that most people are drawing is the fact that perhaps Mr. Modi did not have anything to do with the riots. So there's no question that Mr. Modi is benefiting from the fact that the Supreme Court and the trial court, etc., are not able to pin him down.
He's not.
But Rajdeep, one last point: if Mr. Salman Khurshid has said what Nirmala Sitharaman is saying, and if he has compared Gujarat with the Holocaust, I think this is completely over the top, and it's a very reckless comment. So he has made it.
So you actually,
I criticize it.
Right. Before I come to you, KC Singh, let me just get the Congress on that. This demonization of Modi, comparing it to Holocaust. Let's accept Gujarat 2002 happened. More than 1,000 people died. Narendra Modi as Chief Minister must take some responsibility, just as Rajiv Gandhi will have to take responsibility at one level for 1984, or a Sudhakar Naik and Sharad Pawar for 92-93 Mumbai. But to liken it to the Holocaust, to demonize Modi permanently, is that not subject to the law of diminishing returns? Is that not a strategic, politically strategic blunder that the Congress is committing. And to do that, as Nirmala Sitharaman says, it makes his position stronger. That's right.
Make Modi's position stronger.
He almost becomes a victim. Respond to that, Mr. Kesavan, that rather than challenging him politically by calling him names.
Rajdeep, 3 points.
Yes. Quickly.
Rajdeep, 3 points. This is what the people of India are facing here. You can't shout out the truth by using an aggressive posture. The International Religious Freedom is a federal commission where the commissioner is appointed by the President of America. Please let them check the facts. You can't digress from the fact here. Please check it. Coming back to the elections of 2002 and 2007 in Gujarat, what happened in Gujarat was soundly rejected by what happened in India. UPA won. Please keep that in mind. More importantly, fundamental difference, if you permit me, I just want to say here. On one side, we have the Congress party with the values bequeathed to us by our founding fathers. You bring unity by celebrating diversity. On the other hand, antithesis to the idea of the values of our founding fathers. BJP and RSS who says bring in unity by imposing uniformity.
Mr. Kesavan, you're not answering my question.
Let me make one point.
Mr. Kesavan, you're not answering my question, which is
coming back to
the
question.
demonization of Narendra Modi is subject to the law of diminishing returns. Do you concede that or not? That is not enough. You cannot.
Not at all. Let me make one point. Let me, please, sir. Permit me.
Yes.
Let me make one point. I'll just give you one example, if you permit me, because the BJP person had her time. Please give me 1 minute. See, you take the classic case which came up to the Supreme Court in 2008 when it came to implementing, pre-matriculation scholarships for minority students. Simple scheme, wonderful scheme for all the 5, minority, community students.
Yes.
What happens? The whole country implements it, and it had a clause where annual earnings should be under 1 lakh and they should show good marks. Only Gujarat didn't implement that.
Nobody is saying you can't fight him politically to liken it to the Holocaust. To liken it to the Holocaust. To liken Gujarat 2002 to the Holocaust as a minister or to go as Mr. Let us not make it about Mr. Salman Khurshid today. The issue is about Mr. Modi. The Supreme Court put their foot down in May 6 saying they should implement this. Why are they having this selective amnesia when it comes to the minority people of India? And let me ask you one question. And the argument by the Gujarat government was, we don't want to give minority scholarships because this is a reflection of what happened in Gujarat. This is targeting. They said we don't want to do it because let them be treated economically equal. Mr. Kesavan, you are giving your arguments, but you are not responding whether it's subject to the law of diminishing returns. I'll come back to you. No, hold on.
Rajdeep.
Yes, Nirmala ji.
Pointed questions for Mr. To the Congress spokesperson.
Yes.
I want to ask if he's so worried about, riots and, the political responsibility and everything else. Mrs. Indira Gandhi is answerable for what happened in Delhi. 3,000 Muslims died there. She held election within a week. Till today, that report has not been tabled in Assam's assembly. What is the Congress doing about it? Last 10 years they've been in power there.
Can I come back to the US?
If 1 minute. Just I'll finish it.
Yes.
The question is, you talk about the, Religious Freedom Wala Council, federal funded one. You should get your facts corrected and all that. Then let me ask you. A summon has been issued to Mrs. Sonia Gandhi for shielding and protecting people who went on rampage, killed people. Now, if you really think of courts abroad are all that very, very important, then what kind of recommendation would you make for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi?
No, hold on. Now, before I let Mr. Kesavan reply, I want to bring in KC Singh on the simple point. Back to the United States. Is what we have seen today, the US now formally asking a meeting with Narendra Modi, the ambassador going to meet him on Thursday, a sign of US pragmatism? That in diplomacy, ultimately countries look at their national interests, and it's the national interest of the United States today to look at Narendra Modi as a potential prime ministerial candidate. Therefore, what was seen at one level over the last decade as some kind of an ideological human rights debate is now in the national interest sphere, where the United States has decided dealing with Modi is the way forward.
Thank you, Rajdeep. Finally, I can have a say. Yes, I agree with you. This was inevitable. It was bound to happen, and I don't see why there was anxiety shown by BJP in the past. In any case, it's very sad that we are making an issue which should remain a domestic issue into an international problem, and therefore letting the Americans decide for us who is or isn't acceptable, because the Americans are known to apply these principles differentially. if they were going by human rights rules applied universally, how would any American, how would any Chinese president ever get a visa because of what happens in Tibet or the Uyghurs? In fact, there is a Spanish court today which is prosecuting 2 former presidents of China, but the Americans merrily give them the visa. And similarly, when was a visa denied to anyone who was named in case of the Sikh killings in Delhi or the riots in Maharashtra? So let's not universalize it. Let's not use the Americans to score points. They will act as their interests dictate. And therefore, human protection of human rights is only a cover. We can also have Indian courts go into American actions in Afghanistan or the killings there.
Are you saying that our government should have worked overtime to ensure that Narendra Modi got a visa in this decade, or our government used human rights activists, used perhaps interest groups on Capitol Hill to target Narendra Modi? Is that what you're saying? And thereby we played into US hands?
No. No, I am saying that this is a double-edged sword, and Congress should be very careful when wielding it, and BJP also should be careful when defending with it. Let this be an issue that is settled domestically. Let's not look for character certificates from Americans, or one side feeling very happy a visa is denied, or the other side feeling very despondent that the visa is now going to be given, because the Americans will give it in terms of their interests. Let's look at the issue in terms of what our courts say, what our people decide in India, and government of India. I would have preferred if the Congress and particularly the minister had not jumped into this, and certainly the words he has used are definitely avoidable.
You make a good point. Character certificate. Shabnam Hashmi, many activists like yourself believed that if you could not win the battle against Modi here, one battle was to be fought in the courts, the other battle was to be fought in Capitol Hill. That somehow you had to prevent Narendra Modi from getting a visa to go to the United States, because that would be a character certificate for Narendra Modi. How true is that? That activists believed that this was an important part of your plank against Narendra Modi. And to that extent, did you willy-nilly allow this issue to get internationalized? Did you willy-nilly allow the demonization of Modi?
No, I don't think that we have a role to any role in making Modi, a demon. The thing is that there is reality which exists, whether you like it or not. 2002 is not going to leave Mr. Modi, whether it is inside India, whether it is outside India, and 2002 is just the beginning of his journey, which begins from 2002.
Are you saying that 2002 will never leave Mr. Modi, irrespective of what the courts of this country decide? At the moment it's trial court, it will go to a higher court, it may go to the Supreme Court. Are you saying that till that judicial process is exhausted, Narendra Modi cannot be rid of the taint of 2002?
One, that the judicial process is not exhausted,
yes,
as of now. Second, there have been many other dictators who have been tried after they have gone out of power, because while they were in power it was not possible. Everything was tried, still nothing happened to them.
Let me finish
that. Yes. I am saying that Modi's journey starts from 2002, and the last 12 years have on the ground displayed how he has demolished every democratic institution.
Did you actively lobby against Modi to ensure that he didn't get a visa? Was that a critical element of your strategy to isolate Narendra Modi?
There are groups. There is a whole group which is called Coalition Against Genocide, which is a diaspora group in the US, which lobbied for it, and they did, whenever they required our help, they did contact us. Yes, we did.
Okay, you did. Vinod Mehta, do you believe in hindsight that was a mistake for the Shabnam Hashmis of the world to lobby actively with Capitol Hill to deny Narendra Modi a visa? Do you believe that was the wrong step?
As it is already said, there is a commission on international religious freedom.
There is a commission, but Indian activists did pitch and did present their case to them.
Well, the commission goes to all the countries and meets the activists. Similarly, it met the Indian activists also and found the ground situation.
Vinod Mehta, go ahead, then I'll come to you, Nirmal. Yes, Vinod. No, ma'am, just a minute.
Rajiv, Shabnam Hashmi probably...
Well, yeah, let Vinod speak and then Nirmala. Yes, Vinod.
Rajiv, Shabnam probably forgot that the business of the United States is business. And I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see why they are doing what they are doing. He's likely to be the next Prime Minister of India. Come on. I mean, how can you have a situation where the next Prime Minister of India can't enter the United States? But coming back to the whole question of 2002, it's not just a question of Mr. Modi. It's also a question of how the Congress handled Mr. Modi and attacked Mr. Modi on the 2002 riots. And I think mostly they shot themselves in the foot. If you remember, in the last state elections, they did not even raise the issue because they were so scared. And I think the Congress is responsible for Mr. Modi get this perception that the Congress is out to get Mr. Modi and that Mr. Modi has actually no role in the 2002 riots.
Right.
So in many ways the Congress has come to the aid of Mr. Modi in the perception war. They've handled the attack on Mr. Modi very, very badly.
Okay, let me though come back to you, Nirmala Sitharaman. You wanted to respond. This whole notion of a character certificate, activists believing that there are groups abroad which are, human rights is a serious issue in the United States. We've seen that even when Narendra Modi wanted to make a speech via video conference, there were activists in the United States who raised questions. Do you believe, as Shabnam Hashmi is saying, Nirmala Sitharaman, that 2002 in that sense will always shadow your prime ministerial candidate?
Rajdeep, let's not forget
Yes.
that if you're really worried about and if you want to highlight the United States for its human rights, are you forgetting very recently how Cobra Gade was treated? Where was human rights at that time? And American drone operations are an issue in Pakistan and neighboring Afghanistan also.
I take that, but what you are keen? The point that KC Singh made. KC Singh made, why was the BJP so keen that Narendra Modi get a visa? Why was the Congress so desperate to prevent him from getting a visa? Both of you played into the hands of Washington.
Absolutely not. Please listen to me and then conclude.
Yes.
Even when I started out giving you answer, you said, wow, what is this? Why are you not excited about it? I said it's a normal practice that ambassadors meet. So don't attribute to us what we have not displayed at all. One thing. Second is with Syria, the problem which is going on there, human rights violation, we are not talking about that in the context of the Americans. And I'm very grateful, in fact, I'm using the word grateful for Shabnam Hashmi for admitting so forthrightly that they did campaign in the name of religious freedom to a federal commission there, which is funded by the American authorities. But if I know, because twice when I've gone through the details of the report, I've also come to know that if there was one representative of that commission coming here for religious freedom, there were 10 of our local chosen groups who prepared the report for them. State governments have had objections for that. You're preparing, locals who are chosen are preparing reports about India's human rights and sending it to an American funded agency on whose human rights records none of these people will even have a word to say. This is India first for us, right?
Okay.
And therefore, Rajdeep, about this cottage industry which has been flourishing for 10 years with Congress funds, I think less said the better.
You're making very strong comments today, but Mr. Kesavan, do you want to respond?
Absolutely.
You heard,
I'm
taking what Mr. KC Singh said, which is that the BJP was making the mistake of showing a certain amount of keenness that Mr. Modi get a US visa almost like a character certificate, and the Congress was desperate to deny him that. Respond to that we allowed the United States in a sense to become the arbiter of our own domestic human rights record.
Which we have been
not at all, Rajiv. I told you in the beginning. I told you in the beginning there was a Congress delegation.
Yes.
Let me answer, please.
Yes, please answer.
You very clearly told you this is about the 80 crore voters of India. Even by last year, you had a Congress delegation meet Mr. Modi. That's not the issue. Let me come back to two issues here. harsh words were used. That's how they plummeted the level of public discourse. I won't do that. I will not do that. Let me complete.
Yes.
I didn't interrupt when you spoke, madam. Let me complete.
Yes.
Two things I'll tell you, sir. Rahul Gandhi made a statement yesterday expressing regret very graciously, as done, saying that the Chaiwala comment was not attributed to the Congress. People who sell tea are good people. People who drive taxis are good people. People who are farmers are good people. They work hard. Let me say this, we respect the people who sell tea, but the problem here with the BJP and RSS is they're not selling tea. They're selling the politics of division. They're selling the politics of parochialism. They're selling the politics of sectarianism. That is one issue. The second issue we'll fight on this is very clear. They talk about the Gujarat model. State Health Department in the 11 rupees, 17 rupees issue said, 34 lakh families earn under 11 and 17 rupees.
You're not again Mr. Kesavan. Mr. Kesavan, hold on. No, Mr. Kesavan, please answer my question. Do you believe the Congress made a mistake in trying to show an extra desperation almost to prevent Mr. Modi from getting a US visa? I just want to know that.
When did we, let me say one thing, sir. If you see the way the visa was rejected, I'll give you the exact words.
Did the Congress make any effort to ensure that an elected Chief Minister of India got a US visa?
Why should we?
When did the Congress make that effort? Yeah.
We
Congress,
made sure justice was meted out to Devayani Khobragade. Please let me speak, sir. I'm being interrupted.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm being interrupted, please. You saw the way we fought for Devayani Khobragade. You saw the way justice was meted out. That is what we stand for. We are hardly concerned about what Modi does with America and what America thinks about Modi. America is not going to decide the elections here. The people of India are going to decide. We are not, we have no problem. We never have a...
Okay, you made your point. Shabnam, you wanted to make a quick point before I end with Casey. You wanted to make a quick point on the Congress thing. Was the Congress also, just like activists, was the Congress extra keen to prevent Modi from getting a character certificate from Washington?
I remember the first time Modi was denied a visa, there was an official statement by the government saying that as a elected chief minister he should have got the visa. That was telecast on everything. I think if the Congress was serious about taking on Modi in 2004 when UPA 1 came to power, there was enough evidence, there is enough evidence. They could have prosecuted him and he would have been behind bars and not roaming out freely like he is now.
I'm going to give the final word. Those are all very strong words, of course, that are coming in. But at the moment, the fact is, K.C. Singh, Narendra Modi at the moment is front runner to be the next Prime Minister of India. Do you therefore believe that this tag of him having been the Chief Minister when Gujarat 2002 happened will no longer affect him? Should he become the Prime Minister, will it in any way affect his equations with Western powers, particularly Washington?
No, I think the signals have they've been sending for many months. That's why the British High Commissioner had met him. And in fact, the US Ambassador would have met him even earlier, were it not for the Khobragade incident. They were trying to engineer something in Delhi which didn't work out. Therefore, it's only inevitable. That's why I've always maintained that in a situation like this, wait till you become the Prime Minister. As I said, which Chinese president has ever been denied a visa by the Americans?
Okay.
These are, Americans use it selectively. It's a stick they use to beat the other people with. Okay. And we shouldn't fall victim to this.
Okay, my friend Vinod Mehta as always wants the final word. Quickly, Vinod, 30 seconds.
But everyone is assuming.
Just a minute. I'm not assuming that Modi is becoming the Prime Minister. I am not assuming that. I have never said that. I said he's the front runner. Go ahead, Vinod Mehta.
The stain of 2002 will never leave Mr. Narendra Modi. But surely we have to concede that it is becoming less and less prominent. It is becoming less and less striking.
Okay.
And the Congress is responsible for making Mr. Modi appear less guilty than he was.
Okay. On that note, let's leave it at that. That's the note which has been struck by Vinod Mehta. I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate all my panelists joining us on our talking point tonight. Let's raise our editor's take tonight. The denial of a US visa has perhaps rankled with Narendra Modi and his supporters, although they may not admit as much in public. With the Gujarat Chief Minister now the front runner to be the next Prime Minister, Washington perhaps has no choice but to warm up to Modi. Poll surveys have consistently shown that the 2002 riots matter less and less to the Indian voter. Yes, his handling of the communal violence will always shadow his claim that he is the right man to lead India, but demonizing Modi through the prism of the past may be subject now to diminishing returns, as Washington seems to have realized. Capitol Hill is within reach of the BJP's PM candidate. The bigger prize, though, remains the national capital.
Of the BJP, which is the principal opposition party.
Right.
It is a customary practice that most diplomatic representatives of various countries, whoever are present in India, do meet up with the ruling party and the opposition party. And in this case, because now that he is announced as a prime ministerial candidate, maybe the US ambassador chose to call on him.
You don't seem to be too enthused. You don't seem to be too enthused. You almost seem to see that this is routine. The fact is that for 9 years,
it is routine.
but the fact is that for more than a decade, the US has not had formal contact with Narendra Modi. They haven't given him a visa. Is this a moment, you believe, which marks the end of that isolation?
We do not know with the what agenda or what intention the US ambassador is going to meet with the chief minister. Not an Indian External Affairs Minister cannot do anything to force him to give or to deny. But the statement of Shri Khurshid today almost gives an impression that he's been vicariously enjoying this denial almost as a congressman rather than working as an Indian External Affairs Minister.
So you're saying Salman Khurshid is speaking as a congressman, not as the External Affairs Minister. As an External Affairs Minister, you're saying he should be pushing for Modi to have got the visa in the first place.
I'm also saying, yes, somewhat what you said, I'm also saying,
yes,
as a congressman, even as a congressman, I think a few of them excel in speaking ill about our own country's leaders with media men who come from abroad, and probably even when they are abroad, to talk ill of your political opponents. Narendra Modi ji has gone to China.
The big question, the United States reaching out to Narendra Modi, is Gujarat 2002 no longer an issue in election 2014? That's the big question that we're raising at the moment. Joining me now, Nirmala Sitharaman, the BJP spokesperson, C.R.Kesavan, the Congress spokesperson, Shabnam Hashmi, social activist who's been taking on a campaign against Narendra Modi in Gujarat, K.C. Singh, former diplomat, and Vinod Mehta, editorial chairman of the Outlook Group. Nirmala Sitharaman, how do you react to this US decision? Is this finally a sense that you have got that with the United States deciding to reach out to Narendra Modi, his isolation in a sense from Washington is over? Is this a moment for you and your party to celebrate?
See, Narendra Modi ji has been announced as the prime ministerial candidate. Right. Certainly we think as much as other ambassadors would do or high commissioners would do, here is an ambassador who is coming to meet him, and that's where it lies. But since you seem to be very curious to know about issues which are related to the visa denial and 10 years isolation, as you call it,
yes,
I would want to start off straight away saying that it is disgraceful that the Indian External Affairs Minister, he may go into the technicalities of whether it is the lower court or a higher court or a Supreme Court. There isn't anything at all on Sri Narendra Modi, and above all, if it is the Indian courts which have spoken. And as a External Affairs Minister, even during the last 10 years, it is, yes, the prerogative of the nation which considers, with the country which wants to give the visa, whether they give it or not. Japan never lets down our leaders with whom he doesn't compromise questioning them when they are in this country. He doesn't speak ill of Dr. Manmohan Singh when he goes out. Whereas you had Mr. P. Chidambaram talking to the BBC's correspondents when probably he was in Davos, speaking ill of elected chief minister here.
Okay.
You may have 1,000 differences within India. You may have 1,000 differences within political parties within India. But there is a decorum. This is really taking it to the bottommost pit. And I'm sorry to say that these are people holding cabinet positions.
You know, those are very strong words coming from you. You're calling it disgraceful. You're calling it disgraceful what you're saying. Salman Khurshid saying that Modi
can call it disgraceful.
Yeah, the only difference of course being that Khurshid has said this in India, unlike other leaders who you say have said it to foreign correspondents abroad, and you're trying to make that distinction presumably, but